Mr. Bartel, you can call your first witness.
I would call Kelsey Cronkite.
Okay.
One moment, let me get her here.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Concrete. We're going to take some testimony from you, so we'll have to have you raise your right hand, be sworn in, and then we'll proceed.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Bartel.
Yes, can you state your name for the record and spell your last name?
Kelsey Lynn Cronkite, Cronkhite.
Okay. And where do you live right now?
Uh,
What city was that you said?
Kalamazoo, Michigan,
And how long have you been living there?
since this last Thursday.
And who lives with you?
My husband, Ori Cronkite, and our three children, Chloe Cronkite, Uriah Cronkite, and Giovanni Cronkite.
Now, when you say your three children, you admit Chloe Cronkite.
My stepdaughter,
Yes.
yes, sir.
Okay. And how old is Chloe?
She's 6 years old.
And when's her date of birth? And what grade is she in school?
First grade.
And where is she going to school?
Comstock Elementary School.
And when was she enrolled at Comstock Elementary School?
Before school started in the beginning of August.
Okay, so just recently.
Yes, because we just recently moved here and bought this home, sir.
And when did you and Mr. Cronkite get together?
We got together in July of 2019,
And when did you marry?
December 6th of 2019.
And do you know Carlina Toledo and Jamie Morgan?
Yes, I do.
And how do you know them?
They are Chloe's maternal grandparents.
And do you know Taylor Morgan?
Yes, I do.
And how do you know Taylor Morgan?
Because she's Chloe's mother.
Okay. And when is the last time you've had any communication with Carlina and Jamie Morgan?
The day after Thanksgiving, so November of 2023, the end of November.
And when is the last time you had any communication with Taylor Morgan?
When we took kids on spring break to Tampa, Florida. And Chloe and I and Ori and Taylor had a phone call on the beach. I do believe it was March 5th.
Of this year?
Yes, sir.
And would you have routine contact with Taylor Morgan over the last few years?
Periodically.
And with regards to, would you admit that before December 2023, that Carlina and Jamie Morgan had significant contacts with Chloe?
No, sir.
Okay.
They had
How, I'm sorry?
occasional contact.
So what is occasional contact to you?
They had Chloe on when she started school. They got to see her on Wednesday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
And that is the only time.
They would call sometimes and ask for her to spend the night sometimes, and she would spend the night. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to 2023. Approximately how many overnights would you say that Chloe had with Carlina and Jamie?
As I stated before, once Chloe started school, she had no overnights with Jamie and Carlina unless they asked for her to spend the night specifically because she started school. So school started in last year in 2023. It started in the end of August, I believe. So from August, September, October, November. So for the last 4 months of the relationship they shared, they only seen Chloe on Wednesday from 4 to 8, unless they contacted Ori or myself and asked for an overnight visit.
Thank you for the answer. My question was in 2023, how many overnights approximately did they have with Chloe?
I maybe a couple. It was sparingly.
How about 2022? How many overnights would you approximate that the grandparents had with Chloe?
In 2022, probably 1 to 2 nights a week.
And was that for the whole year?
There were times where Carlina Toledo would threaten us with you, and say that if we didn't allow Chloe to stay longer, that she would take us to court because she didn't agree with us not letting her keep Chloe for longer than what we thought was okay.
So how did that answer my question of 1 to 2 times a week? I'm just asking how many times.
1 to 2 times a week.
What is your background education?
I have a high school diploma and I have some college experience.
Okay. And I just want to make sure you have no hearing issues, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so in 2022, there'd be on average 1 to 2 overnights per week, correct?
Correct, sir.
And what you're saying is that there was less contact in 2023 with regards to overnights, correct?
Correct.
And you're saying it was more of a once per week, 4 to 8 p.m. on Wednesdays, if I understand, correct? Did there come a time that you were mad at Carlina for taking Chloe shopping too often?
I'm going to object to relevance.
Mr. Barca?
Well, it's just going into the part of the whole background for this court as to the deterioration of the relationship. And I think also the control of the stepmother in this matter.
Okay. Well, it may be a little bit attenuated, but the court will allow it. Go ahead. Why don't you
Can you
ask
repeat the
again, Mr.
question,
Barca?
sir?
Okay. Did there come a point where you got mad at Carlina for taking Chloe shopping too often?
I was never mad at Carlina, but I did ask her to stop taking Chloe shopping so close to Christmas. Yes, sir.
Well, isn't it true you thought that she was just buying too much stuff for Chloe?
Yeah. Yes,
And
sir.
isn't it true that you kind of got heated in some text messages to her telling her not to do that?
No, I asked her respectfully, sir.
Okay. Isn't it true that you also um, got mad at her because she took Chloe to Chuck E. Cheese too much?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um, isn't it true that you just thought that they bought a bunch of stuff for Chloe and you just didn't want that, correct?
I'm going to
No, sir.
object again, Your Honor. I don't see how this is relevant to grandparenting time today.
It is.
Well, Your Honor, this is part of the whole thing. I think it is relevant for the court to understand as to the prior relationship between the respective parties to the breakdown of the relationship. I mean, you can't just jump in and have a psychologist say, here's the detriment to a child if you don't have this connection, and here's the context. I think you have to have the whole context here.
Okay. Well, what the court's going to do, the court will allow the question because obviously the court does need to know again, the environment and gets to know what the contact was and, all of that background to, again, address the best interest if we get to that point. So I am going to allow it. Go ahead.
Right. Isn't it true that you were not happy with Carlina, that you thought she was just buying her too much stuff?
I guess so.
Yeah. And I guess I want to back up. Wasn't there a time in which would you admit that there was kind of a rocky up and down relationship between you and Carlina?
Yes.
And would you admit that there was periods of time that you had previously withheld Chloe from her grandparents prior to November or December of 2023?
I'm not Chloe's mother, so I'm not the one that makes those decisions, sir.
Okay. But you're not the mother, but you would voice displeasure in other subjects to Carlina, correct?
I don't understand the question.
So you pick and choose which areas you are going to be the mother or not the mother of Chloe and voice displeasure to Chloe or to Carlina?
No, sir. My daughter has a father. His name is Ori Cronkite, and he makes the decisions for her. I would always communicate with my husband before making any decisions about what I was doing with Jamie or Carlina Toledo.
So why were you having those communications then with Carlina and not the father of the child?
Because we were women and we were getting along at that point in time. We had a friendship.
But you agree those were duties for the parent to address, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree that Carlina and Jamie have provided significant sums of money to you and Ori in support of
No,
Chloe?
no, I don't agree with that whatsoever at all.
Would you agree that they gave you guys money, period, in support of
No,
Chloe? Okay.
no, they never gave us money.
Okay. Would you agree that Jamie and Carlina would purchase items for Chloe?
Yeah, they purchased items for Chloe like school clothes when Chloe's mother, Taylor, wasn't there and able to do so.
So anything else beyond school clothes that they would purchase?
She bought her some Claritin.
Isn't it true that you would be texting Carlina saying we need new snow pants for Chloe?
Yeah, I did ask her to get Chloe a pair of snow pants. Yes,
And
I
isn't
did.
it true you would say, hey, why don't you just have your mom? She's got Kohl's cash and she can go pick up some stuff for Chloe.
Mr. Bartell, that's the relationship we shared at that point in time.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that she answer the question rather than be combative to me.
Ma'am, just answer the question. He's asked if you did that. You don't need to give
Can you re-ask the question, sir?
Isn't it true that you had asked or told Carlina just to have her mother, Gloria, to use her Kohl's cash to buy clothes for Chloe?
I don't remember doing that, no, sir.
Isn't it true that Carlina would bring medicine over when the children were sick, including your own children?
I just told you she brought Chloe some Claritin and
But isn't it true that there were times when Chloe had the flu or was really sick in which she would purchase medicine or food for you guys and Chloe?
no, sir, that's incorrect.
So she didn't bring over Pedialyte and chicken noodle soup like in your text message to Carlina?
For Chloe, not for my children.
Isn't it true that there had been at least on one occasion, if not more, that you had asked Carlina and Jamie to take Chloe because Chloe was sick?
No, sir, that's not true.
And you never at any point texted Carlina that?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. And you realize you're under oath here today?
Yes, sir. I do not remember ever texting Carlina and asking her to take Chloe because she was sick. I do not recall.
Did you ever ask Carlina to take Chloe because you or Ori were sick?
Yeah, that's a very good possibility.
So let me ask you, on your side of the family, when I say your side, let me define that. I'm talking about your grandparents, your parents, siblings, and Ori's as well.
Yes, sir.
Are there people on your side of the family that routinely see Chloe?
Yes, sir.
About how many?
Everyone.
Yeah, but how many?
We have at least 4 sets of grandparents, numerous cousins, numerous aunts and uncles.
And at any time, would you have Chloe spend the night with any of them over the last 2 or 3 years?
Occasionally, yes.
Let me ask it differently. Are they more than willing to take Chloe in times of need?
My family members,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Isn't it true that you used to appreciate Carlina?
One time, yes.
And isn't it true that you had showed up at her house or in another mode of communication, told her that it would be in the best interest for Chloe to have contact with her and Jamie?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And that was back in March of what year?
I don't have a very good memory, so I apologize.
I
But
mean, if it was in 2022, if would it be around 2022?
no, it was probably 2021.
And you don't lie, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Isn't it true? I want to get back that Carlina gave money to purchase photographs of Chloe.
Yes, sir, but the photographs were for herself and for her family.
And you agree, you guys would be in contact on a routine basis in 2022 and most of 2023?
Can you ask that question again, sir?
Isn't it true that you and Carlina were in, I say constant, but frequent contact with Carlina in 2022 and 2023?
Partially in 2023, and also partially in 2022.
And wasn't most of every,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry?
I just said it wasn't ever steady.
And isn't it true that most of your communication was concerning Chloe
Yes.
and concerning how she was doing and what was going on in school?
There was only 4 months where we would have talked about school.
Okay. During that 4 month period, did you talk about school with Carlina?
Occasionally, yeah.
Okay. But prior to that school 4 month period, you would be talking though about Chloe and what was going on with Chloe and what's going on in her life and how she was doing, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you don't deny that obviously Carlina had an interest in Chloe and a connection there on that level.
No, I don't deny that.
So when is it your understanding that Miss Morgan has been started her incarceration? And I mean jail and prison.
It was July of 2022 or June of 2022.
Okay. So is it fair to say about a year and a half she was
I guess.
in jail or prison prior to the maternal grandparents from just being able to see Chloe anymore?
I don't understand the question.
It was about a year and a half period that she was incarcerated while Carlina and Jamie were having contact with Chloe.
I guess. I said it was
And
June of 2022.
yeah. So how often would you be in contact with Taylor Morgan between June of 22 into the present?
My husband contacted her. He wrote her a letter in prison and had her call him. And that's when we started talking to Taylor. I think it was right before Christmas December of 2023.
So isn't it true that you did talk to Taylor Morgan for about a 2 month period uh in December and January of 2023 into 2024?
Yes, sir.
And is it fair to say that after about end of January, beginning of February, you had only that one more contact with Taylor on March 5th when you were in Florida?
No, sir, we had contact all the way up until when we were in Florida on spring break.
Okay, so you haven't had any contact with her since March 5th.
No, she just stopped calling and stopped talking to us. She stopped writing us. She stopped sending letters to Chloe. She quit calling both of our
So
phones. We
so
can't call.
how often were you sending letters to Taylor?
I sent her like 6 or 7 letters, and I sent her some pictures of Chloe.
And that was all during that December, January, February period?
December, January, February, and March. Yes, sir.
But you have not sent anything since March of 2024.
I don't believe so. I would have to double check and look and see.
Isn't it true during that time period that you did have communication with Miss Morgan that you were trying to convince her to sign off on her legal custody rights?
No, sir, I do not recollect that.
You never did.
No, sir.
Isn't it true that when you were having conversations, at least on one occasion, uh, with Taylor Morgan, you were telling Chloe to tell Taylor Morgan that Carlina was telling Chloe that Ori is
I
not her
object, Your
father?
Honor. There's a whole lot of hearsay in that.
That's not hearsay. That's coming from the source.
So
That's not
what my
hearsay.
understanding of all of that was Kelsey's telling Chloe to tell Taylor something else that someone said.
Correct.
Yes. And that Taylor don't speak. Your Honor, that's not hearsay. If I asked someone if they told someone to tell someone something, it was convoluted from the standpoint of having someone tell someone to tell someone, but it's not hearsay because she's telling the person to say it. That was the question.
Okay, well, clarify the question because it was a little bit confusing, Mr. Bartel.
Yeah, and I don't know how to clarify it up more, but I'll do my best, Your Honor.
Okay.
Is it not true that at least on one occasion that you told Chloe, so this is a statement that you told to Chloe, to tell her mother, Taylor, that Taylor's mother was saying that Ori is not Chloe's father?
That is not true. No.
Isn't it true you told Chloe to say that at least 4 or 5 times when Chloe was on the phone with Taylor?
No, sir, that's not true.
Isn't it true that you had told Carlina Toledo that at the end of November or the beginning of December of 2023 that you guys needed to sit down?
Was that the end of your question?
Yes,
That we need to sit down?
you needed to have a sit down.
I asked her probably in the beginning of November.
Isn't it true that you brought up the fact that you wanted Taylor to sign off on legal custody?
No, sir.
Isn't it true that you indicated that you were dealing with a State Farm insurance proceeds issue and that in order to get it, you had to have Taylor sign off on her legal rights?
No, sir. That's incorrect.
Isn't it true you got mad at Carlina and said you are choosing your own daughter over Chloe?
I don't recall.
Didn't you tell her that she needed to quit hiring attorneys and have Taylor go away?
No, I did not.
And when Carlina said no, you said, quote, "You must not love your granddaughter that much and do not have the respect for the woman in Ori's life."
I do not believe that's how the conversation went.
Isn't it true that you would drop off Chloe at Carlina's house?
Sometimes, yes.
Well, when you say sometimes, isn't it true your husband Ori works?
Pardon me?
Isn't it true your husband Ori works
Yes, he works.
and he works full time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and isn't it true that you were the predominant one to drop off Chloe at Carlina and Jamie's residence?
Yes, sir.
And weren't you the one that predominantly picked up Chloe from their residence as well?
No, not all the time.
I didn't say all the time, predominantly, majority of the time.
No, probably about 50-50.
So 50-50 pick up and mostly drop off is what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
Carlina would drop Chloe back off at home sometimes.
Okay. So you'd still have arrangements with Carlina to do that.
Correct.
Wasn't there a time in 2023 that you went into, let me back up actually. Did Chloe have her own bedroom, to your knowledge, at Carlina and Jamie's?
Yes, but Carlina slept in the bedroom.
So my question was that, so she had her own bedroom, correct?
Yes, but it was like hers and Carlina's bedroom.
So did Chloe have her own bed there?
Yes, with Carlina.
Did she have pictures up in her room?
Yes, some pictures.
Did she have her own toys in the room?
Yes, sir.
Did she have clothes in her room?
Yes, sir.
And how many clothes would you approximate?
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
I mean, did she have sufficient clothes to spend a number of days there?
Yes, she did.
Did she have too many clothes in your estimation?
No, sir.
And isn't it true that at one point you told Carlina to take down all the pictures of Taylor in Chloe's room?
I told her that it might be making her sad. Yes.
And so you told her to take down the pictures.
I don't think I asked her to take them down, but I did mention that it was making Chloe sad.
In fact, didn't you tell her you need to take them down if you want Chloe to come over for the weekends?
No, that's not true, sir.
Isn't it true that you would tell Carlina that you did not want Chloe to talk to Taylor?
No, sir, that's not true. I always encourage the relationship between Chloe and Taylor.
And what have you done since March of 2024 to encourage that relationship?
I have done nothing but wonder why the communication stopped, sir.
So you have nothing but wonder. You never wrote anything to Taylor?
No, I have not wrote her. I have a job now and I have no more storage on my phone to download any more apps.
So but you physically haven't wrote a letter?
No, sir.
And have you sent anything from Chloe to Taylor since March of this year?
As I stated previously, I would have to double check, but I do not believe so. I do believe the last thing I sent Taylor was a couple pictures of us from spring break.
Isn't it true that there was a time that you walked into Chloe's bedroom at Carlina and Jamie's and got mad when you saw Chloe take pictures out of her baby album and line them up of Taylor?
No, sir.
So prior to Taylor Morgan going to jail, isn't it true that you predominantly would drop off Chloe at Carlina and Jamie's?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustain.
Isn't it true that when Taylor was not incarcerated, she was living with her mother and dad?
Yes, I believe that's true.
Well, is it your understanding that there was a prior court order that Taylor was to have supervised parenting time at one point by her parents?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And even beyond any supervised parenting time, would you admit that when Taylor has not been incarcerated, that she had been living with her parents?
It's to my understanding that Taylor's always lived with her parents, sir.
Yes. So whenever Taylor would be exercising her parenting time or it was her time with Chloe, Chloe was over at Jamie and Carlina's, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's been for many years, correct?
Uh, Chloe lived with Ori and Taylor, the first year she was born, and then she lived with Jamie and Carlina. I apologize. I'm just looking for my phone charger.
Have you ever threatened Chloe that you would break her arm?
No, sir, never.
Did you ever tell Chloe that Taylor Morgan is not coming home for a long time?
No, sir.
Isn't it true that you have told Chloe that her mother is worthless?
No, sir, that is not true.
Isn't it true you would tell Chloe that Carlina is telling people that Ori is not Chloe's daughter?
Can you repeat the question, sir?
Isn't it true that you have told Chloe that Carlina is telling people that Ori is not Chloe's father?
Yes, I've told a few members of my family what's going on.
No, have you told Chloe?
Oh, no, sir. No.
Isn't it true you have told Carlina that you beat Chloe's ass because she would not go and play with the other children?
No, sir, that is not true.
Isn't it true Carlina responded that you should have put her in timeout? And your response was that that's not how we do things around here?
No, sir, I do not believe that that is true whatsoever.
So I want to go back to about March of 2022. Um, isn't it true that you got into a significant car accident?
I'm gonna object, Your Honor, of how that's relevant.
Yeah, Mr. Bartel, how is that relevant?
Well, it's as a proffer of proof that they reached out to my clients to come pick up the child, Your Honor, and to take the child and care for the child because that child was in that accident. It further goes to the dynamics here that she has pled to a felony. She endangered the children, and with regards to even this specific child.
Okay. Well, I will allow it to the extent that it's relevant to this case and to Chloe.
Okay, can you re-ask the question, sir?
Yes, isn't it true in March of 2022 you got into a significant car accident?
That is true.
And you had pled no contest to assault causing great bodily harm less than murder?
No, sir, I pled no contest to attempt to do great bodily harm / less than murder.
And that is a felony?
That is a 5-year felony, yes.
Okay, and that was reduced from a charge of driving under the influence causing death, correct?
I'm gonna
I
object of
don't
how this is
understand.
relevant to Chloe.
Well, if I'll allow it if Mr. Bartell can tie it up that it's some way relevant.
Well, Your Honor, I get it. The other side doesn't want any background information to come in, and I leave it to this court to direct me, but this court needs to have some of this background. I can't just jump into everything as to one particular question, because that would be a lack of foundation.
Well, tie it up. Maybe if you asked if the child was present when that happened, that
Yeah.
Obviously that would
Yeah.
be relevant.
I will. So in this accident, was Chloe present?
Yes, sir, she was.
She was in the vehicle
Yes, sir.
and she got injured?
No, sir. She had bruising from her seatbelt.
So she got injured.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you're trying to minimize it, correct?
Pardon me?
Otherwise, you're minimizing it, aren't you?
She had bruising on her neck from her seatbelt, sir.
She went to the hospital. Is that not correct?
Yes, everyone went to the hospital, sir.
And I don't mean to disturb this situation or be insensitive, but there was a minor child that died, correct?
My son, Julian Mansfield. Yes, sir.
And he was not wearing a seatbelt, correct?
That is correct.
And he was in the front seat right next to you, correct?
Correct.
And Chloe was the only one that was wearing a seatbelt, correct?
Chloe and Giovanni were the only ones that did not unbuckle because we were almost home. That is correct.
Well, isn't this the same day? Let me ask you, why were you going home?
I'm gonna object how this
Pardon
is
me?
relevant. This is
Your
not
Honor,
trial
this
2.0 of Kelsey Cronkite. It needs to be relevant to Chloe. I don't see how the circumstances surrounding this accident are relevant.
was involving the minor child who got into an accident, Your Honor, that had significant bruising, had to go to a hospital, and I am going to get to the point where the grandparents were called. So all this is relevant, Your Honor.
Well, I'll allow it to some extent. There was a case called In Re Taurus X, which is an older case. But in that case, they said how one parent treats a child, a particular child, is indicative of how they may treat the other child. So I'll allow it to that extent. Re-ask the question, Mr. Bartell.
Okay. So let me actually back up. So at some point, did you or someone call Carlina and or Jamie Toledo to come pick up Chloe?
My husband was with Jamie. So when my husband was notified of the accident, Jamie was also notified of the accident because Ori and Jamie were together. So Jamie probably called Carlina.
So isn't it true though, Jamie and Carlina are the ones that took Chloe to the hospital?
Yes, because I was in the ICU and one of my children passed away, and my 4-year-old son was also in the PICU in Kalamazoo, and Ori needed them to make sure Chloe was okay.
Okay, so people were in ICUs. That was a pretty significant car accident, not just a fender bender.
Yes, sir.
And that was a one-car accident, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you hit a tree, correct?
Yes, sir. After I was knocked unconscious.
And there was no icy road conditions, correct?
It was sprinkling, but it was not icy, no, sir.
And now let me come back. So what was the reason for you going home? Where were you
I'm gonna
coming
object
from?
again, Your Honor. This isn't relevant.
Yeah,
Why she was going
how's
home.
it relevant where she was going?
Because I want to get to the point she was actually coming from Jamie and Carlina's actually, where she didn't drop the child off, where she actually got mad at Carlina because Taylor wasn't home at 5:30 rather than the 6 o'clock time period and was being childish.
Okay, well, ask her that question rather than some other nebulous question that may not be relevant.
Isn't it true that you were coming from Jamie and Carlina's residence?
Yes, that's true.
Isn't it true that you were there originally to drop off Chloe at 5:30?
That's when Chloe was supposed to be dropped off. Yes, sir.
And isn't it true that Taylor was not there even though the time is 6 p.m. for the drop off?
Yes, it was supposed to be 6.
And isn't it true that you said, well, if she's not here, I'm not leaving Chloe for her parenting time?
Ori wanted Chloe to be with her mother
That's not
for
my
her
question.
parenting time.
Isn't it
What, can you
true you
repeat your
said,
question, sir?
isn't it true you said, if Taylor's not here right now, I'm not leaving Chloe here?
Yeah, sounds like something I would say.
Isn't it true that you were told that she's going to be home shortly?
Yeah, Ori was gonna come back to the house and pick her up and bring her back to Taylor. Correct. At 6 o'clock. And Taylor still never showed up.
I was there. My daughter came to me.
Hold
the
on,
accident.
hold on.
Taylor,
Miss Morgan, you cannot speak. You have an opportunity to speak when you testify. Don't interrupt and do not interject.
can I just ask that the court put Taylor on mute, baby?
Okay. We'll mute you at this point, Miss Morgan. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Bartel.
And isn't it true Jamie and Carlina took Chloe for that weekend after being in the hospital?
I'm unaware, sir. You would have to ask my husband that. I was in the ICU.
Do you know who Stephanie Plain is?
She's my paternal grandmother.
Your paternal grandmother, okay. And when's the last time you had contact with her?
A few months ago when we got in an argument.
Okay. When you say a few months ago, like 2 months ago, or?
I'm unaware, sir.
Okay. Isn't it true that you told Stephanie Plain in December of 2023 that Chloe was lying to you all the time?
There was a point where Chloe was lying a lot, yes.
No, the question was, and if the court could direct her, I get it. She wants to get her story in. I asked, did you
I
tell
just don't
Stephanie?
understand. I'm sorry.
Well, you were actually testifying as if it was fact that Chloe was lying, and maybe she was or wasn't. My question was there a time in December of 2023 that you told Stephanie Plain that Chloe was lying to you all the time?
I don't recall, sir.
Isn't it true that Stephanie Plain has voiced her displeasure of you guys, you and Ori, not allowing contact between Carlina and Jamie and Chloe?
No, sir, that's incorrect.
And isn't it true that that you have called her a fucking cunt because she disagrees with your cutting
I'm
off
gonna
the
object
ties?
how my client or Miss Cronkite's relationship with Stephanie Plain is relevant to grandparenting time.
Okay, Mr. Bartel, how is it relevant?
Your Honor, it's relevant from the standpoint as to the connection of, and I'm trying to establish some stuff for impeachable stuff in the future with Stephanie Plain, but Stephanie Plain has some information as to the connection to Chloe and Chloe to this particular witness and Jamie and Carlina.
Well, I'll allow it for the limited purposes of potential impeachment or credibility, but it's maybe, again, it's tenuous as to how it relates other than that.
Isn't it true that Miss Plain had come to Chloe's birthday party this last year and you made her leave?
That is correct.
And isn't it true because you made her leave because she doesn't agree with your stance with regards to the contact between Chloe and Jamie and Carlina?
No, sir, that's not true. That's not why I made my grandmother leave my property.
Isn't it true that you told her you have nothing to talk to her ever again unless she can realize that the accident that include Chloe was not your fault?
No, that's not true.
Isn't it true you have cut her off from seeing Chloe or any of your children?
That is correct.
Isn't it true that you've cut Cindy and Don Plain off from Chloe or any of your children?
I'm gonna
That
object
is
to how
correct.
this is relevant to the grandparenting time issue.
Okay, how is it relevant, Mr. Bartel?
Well, Your Honor, I'll scratch that. I'll get into some other questions, then that could be the final one, I guess.
Okay, thanks.
Uh, can you, do you know Cindy Plain?
She is my uncle's seventh wife. Yes,
Okay, and Don Plain, do you know him?
that would be my uncle.
Okay, and what's the importance of seventh wife?
He's been married 7 times. It's his seventh wife.
Okay,
That's how I know her.
and isn't it true you would take Chloe over to visit with her on routine basis for family dinners?
I'm gonna object how this is relevant to grandparenting time.
Okay, Mr. Bartel?
I mean,
And
Your
we
Honor, I
would
can
visit
jump
with them
in.
as well.
I can jump into the statement she made. I'm just trying to lay the foundation as to where they were and the connection there, Your Honor.
And I still don't understand how her relationship with other family members is relevant to grandparenting time, or her statements to other family members is relevant to grandparenting time.
I don't know, perhaps maybe statements such as the grandparents are good people helping out with Chloe and stuff. But I got to establish a foundation. Unfortunately, council doesn't understand foundation.
Well, maybe ask her those questions, and if there's an objection to the foundation, we'll
I
let
guess
you
from now on, I'm going to, Your Honor. I'm going to jump in and not do foundation.
know. Okay.
So isn't it true that you have indicated to Cindy and or Don Plain that Carlina and Jamie Morgan are great grandparent or good grandparents to Chloe?
I don't recall, sir. No,
You don't recall ever saying that.
I don't recall. No,
Isn't it true that you have acknowledged to them that they had a close relationship?
I don't recall. No,
Isn't it true that you acknowledge how happy Chloe was in the presence of Carlina and Jamie?
no, sir.
Isn't it true in front of them that you would make comments to Chloe that her mother would not be coming home from prison for a long time?
No, sir.
Isn't it true that you would disparage Taylor Morgan to Chloe in front of Cindy and Don Plain.
No, sir.
Isn't it true that actually, let's strike that. Isn't it true that you had text Cindy indicating that Don was responsible for Ori's drug addiction?
I'm gonna object of how that's relevant.
Okay, how is
I
it
mean,
relevant?
well, if we're gonna get into best interest factors, and as this court indicated, as to things that affect the child, including whether it's drug abuse, whether it's car accidents, almost killing children, I think it is relevant.
Now, what's your response to that, Miss Reed?
I don't believe this third party communication is relevant to the grandparents' claim of substantial risk of harm or the best interest factors.
Well, the best interest factors are pretty encompassing, so it does go to, again, the person's mental, physical health. So if we can tie that in, if there is in fact an issue of drug addiction, we can tie that up. The court would hold that it's relevant. So I'll let you get into that, Mr. Bartel. Again, subject to tying it up at later witness or evidence.
Isn't it true that you acknowledge in text and otherwise to Cindy Plain that your husband has a drug addiction?
About a year ago, there was an issue with my Uncle Don and Jamie Morgan giving my husband
No,
Vicodin.
that's not the question, Your Honor. She wants to get her story in. Can we direct again?
Yeah, ma'am.
I thought I was
ma'am,
answering the
ma'am,
question.
no,
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
he asked you a question whether your husband had a drug addiction. You don't need to go into a story about how it happened or how it arose. He just asked you that question.
Okay, can you repeat your question, Mr. Bartel?
Isn't it true that you admitted to Cindy Plain that your husband has a drug addiction?
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
Had.
Isn't it true that he still uses drugs?
No, that's not true.
When's the last time, to your knowledge, he used drugs?
I'm not sure. When he stopped working for Mr. Morgan?
So about 9 months ago.
10 months ago, yeah, almost. Yeah.
And what drug was he using?
Vicodin.
Isn't it true he used cocaine?
No, sir.
He's never used cocaine.
In the past. That was discussed at our last court date where we did this.
Well, thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
Isn't it true that you had text Cindy indicating that when you had the falling out, that Carlina and Jamie spoiled the children too much?
I don't recall, sir, no.
Isn't it true that Cindy Plain confronted you and told you about how she felt, how you were doing the wrong thing, taking Chloe away from her grandparents?
No, sir, I don't recall that either.
And do you still have contact with Cindy Plain?
No, sir.
And when's the last time you had contact with her?
Maybe 3-4 months ago.
And so you guys had a falling out as well.
Yes, sir.
And with Don Plain, When's the last time you had communication with him?
Probably about 6 months ago.
And is it true that you've had a falling out with him as well?
Yes, sir.
And isn't it true that you used to take Chloe over there for Sunday dinners or weekend dinners routinely?
I'm gonna object. I don't see how that's relevant to grandparenting time.
How's it relevant, Mr. Bartel?
It shows you at least the contacts between these witnesses and whether or not she can verify or not, and therefore they have knowledge as to Chloe and things that were going on.
Well, I'll allow for that purpose only to establish that foundation and their ability to potentially testify if they are.
Yes. Isn't it true that they would routinely come over for, or you would take Chloe and the other kids over to the Plains house for family dinners?
May I ask what routine is, Mr. Bartel?
On a pretty regular basis, at least once a month.
Once a month, maybe? Yeah.
Just a second, Your Honor. I'm going to look at my notes. So I asked you earlier about a statement that you told Carlina a few years ago. And you'd answer it, but this is an actual quote, I believe, from a text. Isn't it true you told Carlina that, quote, "We know that it's extremely important to her mental health to still have a relationship with you."
Yes, sir. I sent that text.
And that was in reference to Chloe, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bartel, if you would give me the quote again. I didn't get it all.
It was, "We know that it's extremely important to her mental health to still have a relationship with you."
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Would you admit that when you would drop off Chloe or pick her up at Jamie and Carlina's residence, that there were other family members on the other side of the family that you would see routinely over there?
Occasionally, I would see the great grandma.
Okay. No one else?
Not really, no.
Isn't it true that in about October or November of 2023, you had Carlina and Jamie take Chloe because you and your husband were having an extreme fight or maybe even breaking up potentially?
Are you asking if that's true or not?
Yes.
Yes, that's true.
And so, do you recall how many days Jamie and Carlina took Chloe?
I do believe it was just for a day. Just for the day. I don't even think she spent the night, but it's been so long I don't recall.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Reed, do you wish to do any direct, or are you going to reserve and recall?
I'll do direct right now and maybe some cross, but Kelsey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, regarding this text message that you sent that says that you think it's extremely important to Chloe's or her mental health that they have a relationship. Do you recall when you said that?
It was the same time when I showed up at their doorstep with Chloe for Chloe to see them. Those were the same things.
Okay. And was that a year or two ago?
I do believe Chloe was 3, getting ready to turn 4.
And do you still hold that belief today?
No, I do not.
And why not?
I'm going to
It's
object to relevance as to an opinion of a stepmother, Your Honor. That's for the court to decide.
Well, I'll allow it. She can testify. She's testified to a lot of other things, so.
That's fine. I would only ask as long as there's no hearsay in that, because I have a feeling that's what's coming down the hatch.
Okay, well, you can object at that
Yep.
time.
I'm sorry, Miss Reed, could you please repeat yourself?
Why do you not believe that it's currently, or why do you not still hold the same belief that it's extremely important for the maternal grandparents to have contact for Chloe's mental well-being?
Why do I think it's not important? I guess I'm just not. Can you say it one more time?
So
I'm sorry.
you sent a text message that said that you believe that it's extremely important for Chloe's mental well-being for her to see the maternal grandparents.
Yes, that's how I felt.
And you do not feel that way anymore.
No, I don't.
Why not?
Because of what has come out in counseling and the accusations that have been made against the grandparents, I don't think that that's in the best interest for my stepdaughter. And she's just doing so much better since not going there.
Can you explain what you mean by she's doing so much better since not going there?
She's just like opened up so much as a little girl. She used to never like sing to the radio or like sing the songs out loud or dance in front of everybody and now she's doing those things. She's not afraid to use her voice, and she's growing up and she's thriving. She's just amazing in all aspects. And we didn't see the improvement until she quit going to the residence of Jamie Morgan and Carlina Toledo.
Has she acted depressed in any way?
No, ma'am.
Has she been upset and crying?
No, ma'am.
Has she been locking herself in her room?
Absolutely not.
Has her behavior changed other than being more open and dancing and singing? Has her behavior changed in any way since she's been no longer seeing Carlina and Jamie Morgan?
I mean, like I said, she's just thriving. She's doing amazing in school. She's facing her fears and riding the rides at the fair that she, was scared to ride before. I don't know how to describe it. She's just so much brighter, just happier.
Okay. And then I'm going to go over in their motion for grandparenting time on paragraph 36. It says it should be noted that plaintiff father's wife became just mean toward petitioners in June 2023 after she was discharged from probation. It appears that she became brazen with no more legal oversight in her life. Are you still on probation?
On June 2nd, that's when I was put on probation.
This is June 2023, you were discharged.
No, ma'am.
You're still on probation?
Yes, ma'am. I am currently on probation. I've been on probation for about 12 months or longer, maybe 14 months now, through the Calhoun County court system.
Okay, and for the allegation that you just became mean towards petitioners in June of 2023, is that true?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, are you following all conditions of your probation?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Objection, relevance.
Well, I guess I'll allow it for what it's worth.
Okay, that's fine.
In paragraph 39 of their motion, it says plaintiff father's wife has a foul mouth, controls plaintiff father, is not a good role model for the minor children to be around. If anything, plaintiff father's wife should not be around the minor children anymore. So I'm going to break this down. Do you have a foul mouth?
I mean, anyone can have a foul mouth.
Do you swear around the children?
I try not to.
Okay. It says that you are not a good role model for the minor children to be around. Do you believe that's true?
I believe that I am a great role model for my children and my stepdaughter, Chloe.
Okay. And it says, if anything, plaintiff father's wife should not be around the minor child anymore. Do you believe that's in Chloe's best interest?
I have
Objection
been in-
irrelevant.
These are
I
their
mean, my point is, Your
allegations,
Honor, I don't care if that really comes in, Your Honor, but I keep getting objections on the other side for other things that are way more relevant than
Yeah.
whether or not the stepmother believes
Well,
she should be.
I understand, but obviously if we get into the best interest, court has to consider that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
Do you believe it's in the best interest of Chloe that you not be around her anymore?
No.
And why is that?
I've been around Chloe since she was 18 months old. I've never left her. I've always been there with her. And I feel like I'm the only stable mother-like figure she's ever had in her life. And I think it would break her heart if she wasn't allowed to be around me anymore, because to her, I am her mommy Kelsey.
Have you ever had any CPS involvement?
No, ma'am.
Is there any domestic violence in your home?
Never.
Are there any verbal altercations in front of the children?
There was one time where Ori and I got into an argument and I left and I took all of the children with me. And that was where Mr. Bartell asked me if I brought Chloe to Jamie and Carlina when Ori and I got into an argument. And I did that simply because the children didn't need to hear the argument. So the argument took place after the children were no longer in the home, ma'am.
Okay. And how do you discipline the kids in the house?
I put them in timeout.
And does Ari do the same?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the last time you had contact with Carlina or Jamie?
The day after Thanksgiving, so
Okay.
I do believe it's probably like November 26th or 27th of 2023.
And was that in person or text message?
It was a text message.
Okay, but you haven't had any in-person contact with them since then?
With Carlina specifically?
Yes.
No, ma'am.
Oh,
I don't believe so.
okay. Just looking. And do you control Ari's actions?
No, ma'am.
Or phone calls with Taylor in prison, how are those arranged?
By my husband, Ori.
Is it set up that Taylor has to call Ori, or are you guys able to call into the prison to get Taylor?
No, we cannot call. My husband had to pay money, pay like $50 or $60 to set up a phone thing just so he could have contact with Miss Morgan.
So is it Miss Morgan that has to initiate that contact?
Correct.
Okay. Is it like a special system that you guys have to use?
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but yes, it is.
Okay. And there's no way that like you guys are going to be blocking her through that system?
I don't believe so. I never set up a phone for her. It was only, she could only call Ori's phone now that I think about it.
Okay.
She could call my phone, but we couldn't ever talk because I never set up an account to talk to her. Because she was already communicating with Ori.
Okay.
But I did set up a JPay to write her letters. And she wrote me some letters.
And do you have to pay for JPay?
Yes, ma'am, I had to pay for it.
And how much is it?
I think it's so many dollars per letter you send. You have to buy so many stamps. You can buy like 20 stamps for $20 or something. And then every time you send one picture, you have to use one stamp. And every time you send a letter, you have to use one stamp. So every time I was communicating with her, I was paying for that out of my pocket to communicate with her.
I have no further questions.
Okay. Mr. Bartel, any recross?
Yeah, so you made reference to a counselor as part of the reason why you do not believe Chloe should see the grandparents here. Did you initiate that contact with the counselor?
I don't understand the question, sir.
So did you initiate the contact to set up for Chloe to see this counselor?
My husband and I did that together, sir.
Okay, so how did you do that?
By contacting Grace Health.
Okay, by telephone, email?
Well, Ori had to go there in person.
Okay, so did you go with him in person?
The times he went to fill out the papers, no, I didn't go with him.
Okay. And how did you find this counselor?
Uh, it was about 3 months after my car accident, and I called Grace Health looking for mental health treatment and therapy because I had lost a child. And they placed me with this counselor, and she's been my counselor ever since.
So this is Allison Bartha,
That's correct, sir.
and so she is your counselor,
That is correct. She is my
and
therapist.
you have been seeing her for almost, I don't know, just approximately a couple years now.
Probably like 2 years and 2 months.
And you still seeing this counselor?
Yes, sir. I talked to her. It's mandatory through my probation and through the Calhoun County Court that I remain my treatment with Miss Bartha for the length of my probation period.
Isn't it true that you have interacted with her outside the counseling sessions?
None of that is true, sir.
Okay. So you've never gone to have a drink with her or have dinner with her?
Absolutely not. That is
She's
not
never
true.
been, she's never been over to your house?
No, she has not.
You have not gone out on social settings with her?
No, sir.
Okay. And is she friends with people that are related to Mr. Cronkite?
She is friends with Mr. Cronkite being Ori, his brother's wife, and that is because they work together, I guess, at Grace Health.
And there's never been any interaction outside of the counseling session, you said, between you
No, sir,
and this
never.
counselor. Okay.
No, sir, never.
So it was your decision, though, to have Chloe see this particular counselor, correct?
It was the decision of Chloe's father, sir.
Okay. And you indicated that Chloe's doing much better now. She's singing, she's dancing, she's not depressed, all this stuff. I guess not locking herself in her bedroom.
Pardon me?
You had said Chloe's been doing much better. She's singing, dancing, not depressed, all this stuff since
Yes,
she's not
sir.
seen the grandparents is your claim, correct?
That is correct, sir.
And when did she start being depressed and sad and everything?
I guess I don't understand. Can you reiterate?
Well, she's not depressed anymore. When did she start becoming depressed and sad?
She was upset and sad because she lost her mom, Taylor, and she lost her brother, Julian. And then right after she lost her brother, Julian, her mom went away too.
So you're saying she's been upset and sad since March of 22, correct?
Correct, sir. We all have suffered a tremendous loss.
So your claim is that she's always been sad and depressed for about a 20-month period before you sought counseling.
No, we went to see a counselor right after the accident, and the kids were too young. They just wouldn't open up to him. And they let us know that as long as the children are speaking to us about how they feel, that's what was most important. So we did seek counseling treatment beforehand as well.
What counselor was that?
I don't remember the gentleman's name, but it was an older gentleman also designated to us and Chloe and her brother Uriah through Grace Health, sir.
Did you speak to Taylor about putting Chloe into counseling that time with this gentleman?
No, sir, but I am not Chloe's mother, so I cannot put Chloe into counseling.
But to your knowledge, Ori did not speak with Taylor to put Chloe into that counseling, correct?
No, sir. As I stated before, Miss Morgan has to be the one to call us as she is in prison.
Well, so when did this counseling occur, I guess? That's the month and year.
May of 2022.
Okay. Just like, okay. So you had earlier said that she was not incarcerated until June or July of 22, correct?
She was in jail first, and then she went to prison.
When did she go
And
to
sir, I'm
jail?
sorry, I don't remember the exact dates that Miss Morgan went to jail.
So even though you had put her into counseling at that time, as I understand it, you said she had always been kind of depressed and sad until this Allison Bartha, correct?
I don't agree. I don't feel like she was always depressed and sad. No, but she was sad and depressed from the loss of her brother and her mother. I guess I'm not understanding your question, sir.
I have no further questions, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Reed, any further questions? Ms. Reed? Okay, so you have no additional redirect.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. The next witness, Mr. Bartel?
I would call Taylor Morgan.
Okay.
What name did you mention there? You cut
Miss
out.
Morgan, yeah, Taylor Morgan.
Sorry.
So we'll have
Taylor
to,
Morgan.
Oh,
we'll
okay.
have to unmute her.
Am I free to go or do I stay?
Yeah, no, ma'am, you are, that does conclude your testimony. You're free to go. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.